Hey everyone, it's Stephanie Lodge, the Hug Angel, welcoming you to Seraphim Source. I'm here with my Seraphim Soul brother, Alexander Mazzone. Hey Alex.
Hi.
We were dealing with a little bit of Seraphim fire, we're going to be honest. You know, anytime we're broadcasting together, we've done this back, I think we did Awaken Angels a few years back, but
Yep.
it's always interesting. The tech always
Yeah.
gets a little interesting. But we want to just say welcome to everybody. There's so many here to individually call you out. We'd be here all day. So I'm just going to say hello, hugging you all. Thank you for being here.
Welcome.
And this is the world premiere. So we're really excited about this collaboration. Alex and I have been kind of circulating this idea for a while in different ways over the years since we've met. We definitely both resonate with being the Seraphim Souls. And so we just thought, hey, I think, what was it, Alex? I think at Conscious Life a couple of weeks ago now, you're like, I think we should do something.
Yeah. I said,
Here we are.
I'm sick of it. Let's go.
So I want to share a little bit what I feel this is about and why we're bringing this together. And then Alex, you know, how he rips. So we'll let him do his thing too and bring his fire. But I'll just share a little bit about myself if I'm new to you, so you have an idea of who I am. I know some of you, if you're his Patreon channel members, you've seen me kind of chime in on certain things. And he and I have been working together in the grids and as planetary guardians and liberators for quite a while now, kind of behind the scenes. So we thought it would be fun to bring this a little bit more forward so that you can really get a better understanding of what we can do as collectives to essentially start shifting the holographic assembly of this planet and really start to affect change into the grids in a powerful way and liberate a lot more energy in this planetary system than we have been so far. We've been doing the best we can though, right? So my feeling on it is Seraphim Source, to me, what this means is we are bringing the highest vibration, the leading edge of light, what we know is coming in, as Alex calls it, you call it what, the new, right?
That new.
Yeah. So things that we're getting, downloads we're receiving, anything that we feel could be beneficial for the collective to really bring into their regular light and their lifestyle and what they're doing every day. We're going to be sharing different things over the weeks that we connect. We're looking at, just so you know, probably twice a month. We're looking at like Mondays around this time, twice a month. We're not exactly sure. I think maybe like the third, or no, the second and fourth. I don't remember if we decided yet, but we'll let you know. And the point is that we want to do this based on what will really serve the collective and set intentions so we can start to make greater impact, okay? You can find everything about what we're doing and who we are if you want to get a little bit more details, links and all of that at seraphimsource.com. That link will be in the description of this video later, and also it's in the chat. And then as far as signing up for the newsletter there, that's all that's going to bring you is essentially any updates we have, scheduling changes, things like that. So anyway, I want to bring it to you, Alex. What was your consciousness around this as far as what were your guides telling you, and what do you feel is important about bringing really the focus into the Seraphim energies and the dragon energy as well?
Well, first of all, I've got my dragon fruit.
Of course you do. I should have put some.
I've got my dragon's blood burning right there.
I have my dragon titan, my terahertz dragon titan.
Oh. Dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun.
All right. Yours looks bigger than mine. Or maybe
well, that's what they usually say.
You're funny. Okay. So I just want to be really...
No, I got to answer your question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, remember, you're broadcasting with the first person in my town. They said they had ADD. Okay, so you gotta keep me focused, Stephanie. All right. So what is it that we're doing? Okay, so it's been archetypal work that I've been doing for years. Okay, like working with the archetypes, and some of those archetypes can be broken down as the archangels, as you will, archangels. So working with the angels, working with the archangels, and then working with this fractalization of this physical structure that we call Earth. Okay. So as I've worked on these things to kind of put the pie back together for all of us, because I think all of us are holding certain archetypes, but I think all of us have the ability to harness and activate all of the archetypes. And I think that's a lot of the information that's been kept from us to make us feel separation, as we're just this zodiac sign, we're just this thing, we're just that, when really we have the capability to be so much more than that. And that for me is what the Seraphim work has been, as I've gone through these awakening processes and, you know, tuned in with my spirit guide all these years ago. And, you know, me asking him all the way back in 2010, what is this pain in my back? And he's like, you're going to think this sounds crazy, but you need to release your wings. And I was like, you're right. That's absolutely crazy. So after this work of releasing these energy wings from my shoulder blades, which, you know, just to validate that for everybody at home, there was some more activations going on with the entire collective last week. So if you were feeling any shoulder blade pain, that is what was happening, was your wings were either growing or you had more coming in. But besides the point, there was a miracle, and there was a story that I'll just share quickly that validated all this. I was sitting eating breakfast at my breakfast restaurant back on the East Coast in Rhode Island, where I was born and raised. And a little boy walked in holding his aunt's hand, and he pointed at me and he said, "Auntie, how come that guy has wings?" We've all seen when a child's at that very special age of like 2 to 3 years old and the ego hasn't come in yet and they can clearly see things. So this was like the most goosebumps I've ever had. I like to call them truth pimples, like in Scott Bloom's book. It's an awesome book. What is that? Summer's Path? He calls them truth pimples. That's such a
I
good
call
read.
them angel bumps, but you know, everyone has their thing.
Angel bumps. I like that. But yeah, no, for me, it's almost like the soul is like lifting and like you're actually feeling this resonance. Because I had goosebumps, like my eyelids, my forehead. Like normally, like it's normal, get them on the arms, the neck, the back. There's like, I was head to toe goosebumps when this kid said this, because I was literally, you know, as I was doing this work to release these wings from my back, I was like, somebody could read my mind, they would come and take me away and lock me up. Like I was like, they would come get a straitjacket and just be like, well, this guy's crazy. He thinks he has wings. But like to get that validation from this child, you know, that began this work as an angelic, like as this, you know, this journey that began, and this journey through the divine feminine, the divine masculine, the inner child, and all this angelic work and all this dragon work, which gets validated in day to day through researching the old archetypes, like I said, and, you know, just from, you know, like things like that, things like people being able to see it and people being able to know it and paying attention to the information and using our own lucidity to decipher what spirit's trying to tell us. Because spirit, you know, it's like, I don't use the word try very often, but I will say this to everybody at home, that spirit is doing their darndest to communicate with you. And that's the closest thing to try that's going on right now. Many of the people that are on my Galactic Tarot channel know, like, you know, a lot of the stuff that I say to do, like I look for the first out of state license plate every day, do numerology on it. And I mean, like people ask me all the time, they're like, how do you know what's going on in my life? And I'm like, literally, I just read the story that's on the license plate, and then it happens to be what they say is going on. Is spirit doing that for me, or is spirit doing that for them? That's like, you know, that's always been the ongoing question for myself. But through doing this work and through tuning in on these archetypes and these archangels and these seraphim frequencies, as you know, this journey has gone on. I mean, Stephanie knows, and nobody else really knows this, how many times we've been on the phone and either you're talking about your process, because we like, you know, we tune in every once in a while and talk on the phone, of course. And it's like whoever starts talking first is talking about pretty much what's going on for the other one, except just in a slightly different manner.
Yeah.
So to validate this stuff also for the people at home, because now they're going to be like, well, that's what's going on for me. And now these other two people are saying the same thing as well. You know, just more community. That's 2022 for me is the year of truth, and it's the year of community. And it's when we all like really work together and really get this job done that we came here to do.
Yeah. Well, I want to share a little bit about my experience as well with this, because, you know, it's, my background was very corporate. Like you were doing personal training, we're in the mainstream, and then suddenly this comes into our lives and you're just like, what is happening? When you get these activations to step in to something completely different than maybe your trajectory was, right? And so for me, I had my own company at the time, a concierge company for conscious living. And I was in this room with this woman, and she said, I know you didn't come in here for this, but I work with angels, and Archangel Michael's here, and he's telling me you're one of his girls. And I'm like, does he have a harem? Like, what does this mean? So, so I didn't really know what to make of it. I'll be honest. I was open and I was spiritual, but I wasn't really clear on exactly what that meant. And then they went on to say it was him, Raph, and I want to say Metatron, or I think it was, no, Gabriel. That's right. It was Gabriel. And the three of them were basically giving me a message that I would be working with them. And it was an activation of sorts. And so it took me about 3 years, though, to really onboard it as my reality, like to convince me. So similar to you, when you have the child kind of seeing your wings, I had multiple people who had to come up and say, oh, you're an angel. Oh, you're an archangel. Oh, you're a seraphim angel. Like it went through this gradual graduation over time. And I think what I'm realizing now is that we carry certain templates, archetypes, as you call them too, and we can activate elements of them, and we gain broader bandwidth or access to higher dimensional states of where we are originating from based on what we allow for, right? What we really put our energy into. And so I think, and I don't know if, tell me if you feel this as well, but to me, it's kind of like going to the gym. If you go to the gym and you've never been to the gym, or it's, you haven't been in a long time, you're not going to go lift 400 pounds out the gate. You're going to probably, assuming you're me, you're going to probably start with like 20 pounds or 40 pounds. So the point is, like, you have to put in the work. And I think people think that they're just going to naturally just have all this gift, just always stick around and always maintain itself. But I will say, there's a lot of corrosion and distortion and archon energies and things like that that can come in and mess up the system. Because especially when you come in with really high pure light, you're coming in with the Christ codes especially, it's like, oh, let's just snuff that out before it gets started, right? So a lot of times there's a journey first of really what we overcome, the bullying or the abuse sometimes, or other things that sometimes must humble us. Because Yeshua came through for me the other day, and he said, the ones who carry the codes of light that are the soul of the Christed energies, the Christ and Christus, really have a balance between a humility and a self-confidence, because it is only the humble heart that touches the face of God or source. So I thought that very interesting, because to me, that is what I feel the balance and the harmony is about. And everything I'm about is harmonic alignment, as you know already. But I do feel that we're bringing together these tribes, and you and I have interesting tribes because we have some overlap, but we have very different, unique tribes. And I feel that it's a harmony that's being asked now to bring in the masculine, feminine, bring in these energies of alignment and community and collective intention, so we can light this mother up. Like, that's how I see it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you put up a halo?
I can. We can put up a halo.
Yeah, no, because a couple, it was almost like your feed was about to get shut down a few minutes ago. You were just talking about.
Well, no, I mean, I think, it's interesting when I'm streaming, and this, I work with the 12 Archangelic bandwidth, so it's just, they're shifting and weaving, and, sometimes they just like, shoop, come in.
Yeah.
I want to share a little bit, because you can't see the chat, and I just want to say and acknowledge some of the beautiful comments coming in. Are you cool with that?
Of course.
All right, here we go. Let's see. We got Cincy Girl 1988 says she walked past a drawn dragon with the word gatekeeper above it in chalk. Oh, that's awesome. Love it. Thank you, Dr. Jenna. She's saying like, share, and subscribe. Yes, definitely. Please do that. We would love it.
Yeah, and hit the bell notification to be alerted when we go live, because we don't even know when we're going.
Yeah, I know sometimes that could happen.
Yeah.
Yesenia says, so that's what is going on with my back and shoulder pain. I can't understand why I'm hurting. Yeah, there's a lot of
Ascension
activations right now,
symptoms.
everybody. So
Ascension symptoms.
mm-hmm.
Whether your brain thinks it's crazy or not, to everybody at home, the more you look, if pain comes out of nowhere and it's like, you know, there wasn't an initial bump or something happened and pain comes out of nowhere, Spirit has been wanting to drive that home to me for years, to just say, this is ascension symptoms. Something's shifting in my body. Something's shifting in my body for me to get to the next place, to get to the next timeline, to get to the level, to do what we came here to get done, the job we came here to get done, plain and simple. That's what I saw more and more, because, you know, at first I was thinking, what the heck is the point of me having wings sticking out of my back? If, like, I mean, obviously, like, these aren't for me to go like hop off my roof and fly away right now, but there's all these ways that the wings can be used during sessions. They've had me like basically like hug people with them, and I've heard all these like testimonials of people like being like, what were you doing when you were just standing there? I felt like I was going to levitate. I felt weightless. And also, like, even when you're driving, like sometimes when you're driving, you have that person that's just angry at whatever. They're obviously just upset with life in general, and they're riding your butt, and you feel that it's almost like your whole posture gets mangled by somebody else's energy. And like through the personal training and everything I've learned, like on this journey for, like, you know, how to actually fire all chakras, how to get the torus and the torsion field properly firing on all cylinders, it's always been about posture with me. So it's like, if something is having us, you know, lose our posture, then doing something like maybe like fluttering our wings to break up whatever the heck's going on behind us, or look at them like it's almost like eyes in the back of your head for me as well, because you know, it's like the bigger we make our field, the larger our field becomes, then the more we can feel when something's in the field that's a distortion. And the more also, like, you know, if you have waves of light and fire and electricity, how does a shadow entity enter that region? And, you know, that was one of the things that came through in a channel, what was that, in Maine all those years ago with my brother. Was, you know, look at the shadow as if it's a grizzly bear, and look at your field like it can be a creek or a raging river. Okay. So the more work we do with our Taurus field, with our Merkaba, whatever people want to call it at home, this God-given right of this energy that we have around us, that I can definitely vouch for the fact that within myself, I've definitely noticed this taking place. You know, you picture that bear, you know, walking straight across a stream and being able to just whack somebody with its paw. But if you had the world's largest, most raging river, and you're on one side of it, and on the other side was the bear, and the bear stood up and went, roar, you'd almost be like, what are you doing, bro? And then, like, if you tease the bear, it's going to jump in the river to come after you, and just, it's gone. It's gone, and the bear's gone. You had a nice run, now you're done, son. So this is what I would see would happen, because it got the forces, the powers that were, as I like to call them, because we're the powers that be now, the powers that were, you know, if they're going to send something in, it's very comical when it's 3 houses down, standing in the street with its face pushed against the glass, staring at you. There's nothing to fear if the energy can't get in. Like, if we're actually the ones that are swallowing this entire planet with, like, all of our fields, basically Vesica Pisces, and just like, there's no room anymore. There's no room for these anything less than worthy. And that's what I'm seeing take place. And that's what I'm seeing Spirit actually align certain situations. Like, people have no idea what even goes into them going from point A to point B, and to look at whatever the heck is taking place as, you know, who knows, like whatever's pausing you from running out the door in that present moment. It's like, you don't know what's being avoided and what's being aligned to have that take place, and who's being moved out of the way, because they wouldn't want to exist in your field. Because I see more and more as I went from, like, really focusing on certain people in my life and wanting to wake them up and be like, can't you see though, brother? Can't you see? And like wanting to focus on these like one people, you know, while like the whole mass of them were thinking I was crazy, it's like the second I stepped back and just focused on myself and then allowed them to come to me, it was like that was when people could finally see. And that was
Yeah.
when also like my field started to just warp the reality around me. And I saw like who even am I today as I go out to the market and I go and pick up my salad or my foods or whatever for that day. It's like who's actually in the suit as I like one day I'm so engaged and so loving and walking in the market singing and everyone's like laughing like, oh, this guy, what is he doing? And then like the next day to day, like feeling like I need to shield and protect myself and headphones and sunglasses and ooh, I'm just gonna get in and get out. So it was like I had to start to pay attention to this because spirit was like, well, why? What is the difference from day to day? And you know, this is what we're feeling when we rush out when we shouldn't be, or like when we just know that everything's divine and we're going to be in the right place at the right time. This is how we get in alignment with what spirit wants us to know, you know, whatever the vernacular may be.
So
Well,
just to interject really quick before I lose it, because you know we both stream like a fire flood. So I apologize,
yeah,
everybody.
I know, yeah,
Fire hose tonight, but it is what it is. Welcome to welcome to the Seraphim Source, Sovereign Source too, right? In a way, but okay. So
I like that.
One of the things that I know is that okay, so first of all, to speak to what you were talking about in terms of the Merkaba and the whole thing, I call it the halo.
Yep.
Like I call it a holographic assembled light organism or organization.
Yep.
And the reason the angels gave me that was to just simplify and streamline. Because for me, I was like, okay, in a pinch, if I got to go out and I got to do something and I got to jump in somewhere, I don't want to be like, okay, I got to call in everybody. You know, it was just too much. I'm all about efficiency. So I'm just like, activate halo, activate, boom, you know, it's up. And I know because my word is law. So when I get into that phase of knowing my halo's up, and it's always really up, but it's more about an intention of now I'm engaging it. It's almost like Siri or Alexa. It's always there. It's always listening. Not that we wanted to. It's always, you know what I mean, as far as Alexa. But, you know, it's the idea that you want to engage it. And so I offer that for people because when I do that, it's like I literally visualize almost like a disco ball around me that has reflective mirrors. And they can be flipped and, you know, they're magnetic or repellent depending on how I need them to be. But when I put that up, it's like just I don't allow for interference. Like it's the idea is I'm putting up this barrier, not as a protective mechanism, like I'm vulnerable. Like this is the thing that I'm sharing with most people now is energetic sensitivity. Get that word out of your mouth because now you're putting yourself subconsciously, the subconscious is going to read that as you are vulnerable. My wording for that is energetically aware, right? So you're aware of your surroundings. So going back to the pain, right? Going back to these things of pain, I look at it as it's a signal to say, hey, you got something going on and you have to go into it. Because if you don't go into the pain is actually blocking you usually from an energy like rage, anger, something else, right? Judgment. And that could be blocking you from your true power. Because if we don't deal with our anger management issues and all the stuff that's that fire stuff that's not so great, that's what keeps us from plugging into source and anchoring it, more importantly, into the field. Right?
Absolutely.
Because that's what we're here to do. We're not, I mean, everybody's all about ascension. I'm like, no, guys, you got to know there's a return bringing the light back here to plug into the earth, into the grid, into the center diamond heart of the planet and get the whole ship vibrating. So that's, I think, one of the main things of why I wanted to have this conversation is really to have people really understand this is a service of many, right? Not just self, and to debunk some of the mythologies around dragons, how dragons and seraphim are different. And I know you love getting into all the archetypal stuff, so we're going to dive into that. And I'm saying like over the course of our talks, right? Not all tonight, but just, you know, in general.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And I want to actually ask people, you know, in the chat, you can ask questions. If you have questions, I know there's some already coming in. But for even future broadcasts, like if you want to know about something, you know, definitely feel free to ask. I call it like Q and Angels, right? Just ask questions and we'll do our best to, you know, bring them into the conversation, you know, as we weave things together.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. you know, when we're going through these ascension processes, the body is the thing that they were having. Ooh, there, we just plugged out for a minute. So some of the sciatica issues, and I had sciatica for 20 plus years. It came on from Epstein-Barr virus that I got when I was in my 20s. Epstein-Barr virus and any of these viruses are archon energies. They just are. So, you know, when we put attention to them and we feed into them, we give them power. All right. But the point is, we have to start looking at it as.
Where are they hiding, Stephanie?
What? I know. Where are they hiding?
They're hiding
we
from me.
already cleared them.
I don't see them.
But for people, you know, who've had stuff like that, just to know, we can neutralize everything. Metatron came in one time and he says, you are a living library and you are a living library, really, but you are also a living pharmacy, if you want to think of it like that. So anytime you need anything, your body needs anything, it's about directing light in, it's about directing consciousness in, and you have it. And this is really what I think we're learning more and more all the time, right? But I wanted to see if there's a couple questions here. Hold on a second. I agree with the wing activations. And hey, Ryan's here. Hi, Ryan. Okay, so let's see here. There was one question.
Rion in here?
He is. I always call him Ryan because, you know, I've known him that long. Don't tell anybody. No, I'm kidding. Okay,
I can't see the chat. Stephanie's hogging it.
I mean, I'm the studio person. Okay, so Brandon, Brandon asked how. I know, right? Exactly. Brandon asked, how can we tip? We haven't gotten that far, Brandon. Maybe next stream, but this this is like all came together very quickly, so we don't have that in place yet. But I appreciate it. We love you. Thank you for the thought. I'm sure we'll figure it out. This one's a freebie. How's that? Okay.
Thanks,
that's
brother.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you. Organic Intelligence says she teaches children that they can, and they sing it to me, and the heart sings something about singing in the heart with the kids, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else. She sings a song called Calling All My Angels. That's beautiful. Yeah, it's a really beautiful way to do it too. Okay, so sciatica with, yeah, it was Dr. Jenna. So, okay, so I want to just say this with sciatica. Ooh. What I'm going to say is it usually has to do with security. It has to do with financial security oftentimes, or how we can feel self-reliant, like how we can fully govern everything that we are, including our light, right? So when sciatica comes in and flames up, it's usually something going on that we get hooked, right? Something got in, we get these hooks sometimes energetically. And so the best thing I would say to do is definitely ice, like just in a practical standpoint, definitely ice, but also go into that space and acknowledge it. Ask the body, hey, so what's up? What do I need to know? What do I need to know from this experience? Like, why am I having this experience? Because as Alex likes to say, it's not real, right? But in the moment, it feels really freaking real when you're like can't walk. I mean,
real itty.
Yeah.
It's a little bit real. Reality, itty.
A little itty bitty real. So I'll be really honest. When I was going through my upgrades to be able to hold the bandwidth I hold now, I would wish for death. There were days where I would be on the floor, unable to walk, pinched nerves, like really gnarly stuff that I thought I would just rather not be here. It was horrible. And it was all sciatica. So I know the sciatica number. It's not a pretty one. But what I will say is usually the root, okay, the root chakra, or the arc as I call it, is definitely getting hit with energies of stability, security. Also, you might be trying to bring more light through and it's getting blocked. So it's really about dancing and getting the body movement in. Think Kundalini like energies, right?
Yep.
Letting that energy flow through and directing it down into the center of the planet. I want to say this for everybody who calls themselves a twin flame or twin soul or any of that. That's again a construct map of consciousness that we can plug into if we want. I call them angelic flames or seraphim. But really what I would say is Anytime you guys are in union with your partners, please direct the energy of that into the core of the planet, into the diamond Merkaba. Don't let it just go out willy-nilly everywhere, okay? Please do that as service. What do you want to add, Alex? I know you probably
a couple things. For starters, some of the people that are viewing this now or watching this broadcast later, certain people from certain star systems originally, they're actually required to dance to open channel. Like if they're actually looking to channel and they're wondering why sometimes they're feeling the tight band on their forehead and they're like speaking so quickly, they probably did some sort of movement that was similar to dance or just dance in general. But to talk about the hip, you were talking about the hip. I had debilitating hip pain for over a year. Like I thought I injured myself working out. And without any, you're doing this to get rid of your hip pain. Once again, the same guide, like all this, like over a decade ago now, he tells me, sit down, like picture everybody in front of you that ever hurt you and tell them it's okay. Tell them you forgive them. So I do all this work for like 30 minutes or so in meditation, deep in meditation. And then a second, I'm like, okay, I'm done. And like, I'm ready to get up. And they're like, no. Now do you. Now you forgive yourself for everything you did wrong and picture the people you have to say sorry to. And you might actually want to contact these people. If you have a way to get in touch with these people, contact them outright and tell them you're sorry.
Yeah.
So after I do this, the very next day, from going to the chiropractor 3 times a week, I wake up the next day, I don't realize the pain is gone. Because it's like we notice pain there. Like, the human consciousness notices when pain is there. But if instantly it's gone, if you're not focused on it, you're not going to be like, oh, the pain's gone. So I'm just like living my life, going about my day. And then I'm like, wait a minute. My hip doesn't hurt at all right now. And then I do the work after this to do the research to find Louise Hay's writing. And I see that the right hip is attached to forgiveness. So I'm just like for me, so many of these things that people might say it's a placebo or whatever, which that's like a whole conversation for another day. I'm fascinated by the whole placebo, nocebo effect, because this is stuff that's actually used in medical dictionaries by doctors. And to me, it's proof of the law of attraction. Because keep in mind, it's not the theory of attraction. This is a law. It's a law of attraction. So that would be a whole subject matter I could rip about at some point with you if you want. But regardless, what I'm getting at is I did this work because it was the right thing to do. I didn't do the work to get rid of the pain. So when the pain was gone and then I saw this is the work you do to get rid of that pain, it was incredibly validating. Like it's pretty much the most validation I could get would be to read this and be like, well, that explains it. And every single person I contacted, even if it was a very brief engagement, I started off the conversation with everybody like, I'm sure you're not going to remember this. Every single person was like, I do remember this. Thank you very much. We have no idea how much winning an argument, which you haven't won, having an argument, talking to these people, this engagement that we have where 2 archetypes that most of the time when we clash, we're one and the same with this person. Like most of the time when I have an argument with somebody, it's literally like, I'm almost like in the back of my head, like, what is even going on right now? It's like, I'm arguing with myself. But what I'm getting at is nobody ever wins this stuff because you'll notice that after we have one of these clashes with people, it comes up that night. It comes up again. It comes up again. There's all this work to do where if we just said the right thing and did the right thing, we'd have more energy for ourselves to get our work done, to create abundance, to create new earth, whatever the heck it is. We'd have more energy, and everybody at home can vouch for that. They have this thing and it keeps coming up. So what I'm saying is this: if you did something mean or said something that like you really want to forgive yourself at the end of the day, when you reveal this to this person, say sorry. I would be surprised if anybody out there said, oh, I don't remember this happening. And I would imagine if they did say that, they're just, it's ego. They absolutely remember it. And they're just saying that to be like, oh, no, that didn't matter to me. I forgot about it. But what I'm getting at is this. We have no idea whether that has the potential of very powerful being that's existed for like, let's not even talk about how long some of us have existed for. It's not about the ego. It's not about any of that. But it's like to win this argument or to win this fight or to say this thing, we have no idea what that could create in that person, how that could make them feel, what they're going to get done or not get done the day after, because this powerful being, and maybe somebody they look up to on top of it, because that was what came in recently with, like, you know, me, like, basically broadcasting for a decade now and doing all this work that we do. It's like, you're not really winning anything when you win these arguments. And spirit, i.e. ourselves, i.e. the original creator of our soul, whatever vernacular you want to use, we're testing ourselves. So it's like, you might think you won an argument, but it's almost like our angelics are upstairs, like, oh, they're like making notations of like, well, not yet, not yet. Because every time I'm passing these tests and, you know, spending sometimes weeks wondering, okay, I failed. What could I have done better next time? What do I do next time? It's when spirit sees that we care enough to even ask those questions. That's when we get the new license to the bigger starship, or however you want to look at it. You know, it's like we had to take our driver's ed course to be able to drive a vehicle. It's very much the same with these skill sets, these upgrades, you know, being able to see, or whatever the heck the thing is. A lot of times it's obviously our own belief structure and certain fears that prevent us from that as well. But there are certain skill sets and points that I've gotten to that I had to prove to spirit that I didn't even want that power. I had to prove to spirit that, and like that's right out of Solomon's work. That was like, you hear about him being gifted, what was it, a ruby ring or something? There was some special ring that Solomon was given. And he's like, oh, no, I don't want that. That's too much responsibility. I got mine in the other room. He's like, I don't even want that. That's too much responsibility. And then like the angelic says to him, that's why we can give this to you, because you don't want it. I've seen that same stuff, because I heard that story after this had happened, because even in some of your angelic keys, I had certain stuff like that take place. Just, you know, getting this work done.
Well, this goes back to what
I just wanted to let everybody know that you're not winning by winning an argument. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, we implant thought forms into people when we say things to them, you know, and we have to be very careful right now, especially with everything with the COVID, you know, the crown of thorns, as I call it, because we're psychically attacking ourselves and others when we start to get into the judgment even of, are you vaxxed, are you not vaxxed? Like all these arguments and conversations people are having, maybe less in Sedona, more in LA, but, you know, bottom line is...
Sedona's still Sedona.
Yeah, I know. So the point I'm making is, you know, for those who are in other worlds that are dealing with this more regularly, it's intense. And I just want to say this, whatever your opinion is on it, and when we try to put our opinion on others, you know, and we might lower their vibration in doing so, you have to really look at how important is it for you to be right? It's that whole expression of, is it more important to be right or be happy, right? Or have them not get in fear about whatever choices they've made in their life about this, right?
Absolutely.
So that's one thing I want to offer. The other thing that came to mind, and there was a question that I added into the feed, and then I realized you can't see it because you're not in the studio. But one of the things Nikki, I'm not Nikki, Nizad asked.
It is, I see it. Would you say the hook causes inflammation in the body as well? Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I love the way you know, my brother Rion talks about it. You know, it's almost like we get the initial like lower vibrational energy, however you want to look at it. Because it's not about how we see it. We all might see things differently, but how, like, what really is it? It might be a geometric pattern for one. It might be the grizzly bear for somebody else, and it might be a shadow entity for somebody else. But when these energies try to come in, they're using fear to get in, because this is one thing that me and him both agree with. They're trying to get to our shoulder up here, or they're trying to get to our hip. These are the more easily accessible points in the body. And fear is the gateway to let these forces in. We have to let them in at the end of the day. So as we do,
Wait a second. It's weird you say that because right before we went live today, I started getting this weird twinge here. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, what are you doing? Right. And so I took my massage. So everybody, I'm just going to tell
Oh,
you,
the
the
gun.
best investment you can make is $50 at
Absolutely.
Costco or wherever. Get a massage gun. Get one of those massage guns. Alex and I laughed because we both had ours at Conscious Life. I'm like, I got my gun. And he brought his. And we're like, because the fascia, okay, you need to break down the fascia. There's so much issues in the tissues. We're always pulling crap in and transmuting as Seraphim Souls, especially. We do this. So
I'm having a fruit Oreo.
okay, you do you, boo. So the thing is, the massage gun, what I've noticed with it, it goes in there. And while I'm doing it, I set intention of releasing whatever the toxic stuff is that needs to go, right? Like I get more into it than just, oh, let me just stick a gun on me. I'm like, okay, we're going in. And I set an intention to go in after whatever this little thing is. And what I will say, for going back to sciatica really one last time, was I had somebody work on my body. I swear to God, it was more painful than childbirth, which I've never done, but I just assume. And I can say that because my mom had it done too, and she said it was worse than childbirth. But this man, he was like a mechanic. He went in and he moved things, and he did the gun and oh my God, I saw past lives of me on torture racks, being dragged behind horses. I mean, it was horrific what I was seeing being released out of my cells because it's in the DNA. And the DNA can imprint into your template your other realities that you're networked with, and you're processing it here. Why? Because you have a much more compounded interest of currency of who you are now. Your greatest currency is your consciousness, right? So now you've gathered so much different knowledge over the timelines, and this is the one where you're awoken to this other level. So now you can clear and transmute, and you're doing all this work, which I know isn't always fun, but better just to get it done. So my point is, there's a lot of stuff in the tissues that have been there for potentially millennia of timelines, right, of your lifetimes genetically, but in your life, however many years. So what you need to do is really be clear that it's not just the Swedish, nice, relaxing massage. No, you got to go in to pain sometimes to release the equivalent vibration of it. It matches vibrationally and neutralizes. That was the thing that got me finally liberated out of my sciatica, just so you know. So that was my experience. Something you might consider.
It's also sometimes stuff going on the planet, Stephanie.
Oh, of course.
As I you know, if it as above, so below, as within, so without. So sometimes I would actually be feeling stuff going on in my body, and like, I mean, like talk about ascension symptoms, and I'm like tuning in on it, and talking to these other dimensional versions of myself, or spirit guides, or whatever people want to call them at home, angels. And it's like, literally, this is a forest on fire, or a volcano that's like, we don't even realize we're preventing it from erupting, or some sort of battle taking place on the other side of the world. So that's why it's great to get everybody together to talk about the synchronicities. And that's why I love, like, even bringing up, like, last week, your back, if your back shoulder blade started hurting, it's not real. Like, if it just came out of nowhere, because I felt it too, I tuned in on it, spirit let me know what was going on. That's what took place when, even when I called you just on 211, and we were talking at 1 a.m. about, like, this whole, like, dragon thing taking place. And I'm like, I mean, the old version of me would be like, this is crazy. Like, the new version of me is like, oh, crap, I got to let everybody know. Because, I went from this high of, I nerd out sometimes. And I was watching, like, the Book of Boba Fett. And I won't talk about what happened, but it was like, some of it was like childhood dreams from 14 years old coming true. And I'm like, 20 minutes later, I get hit by this wave of anxiety, like nothing I've ever felt. I'm a very happy-go-lucky person. So after tuning in on what the heck is going on, I wanted to share this with everybody. So I share this with everybody the next day. Oh my God, the messages and the emails and the comments in the chat of, like, people being like, thank you. Like, so that's what I love about what we're doing here. It's like, if everybody all of a sudden starts getting a pain in a certain area of their body, obviously we know that this is, it's real, but it's only real a little bit. And we have no idea. If we came here to say, we're going to ascend this reality, we're going to make sure that, you know, certain things that took place before we came in, you know, sometimes I like to joke, call us the X-Men. Certain things that took place before we got here, those things aren't going to be happening while we're here. The boots are on the ground. You know, you got a bunch of Archangel Michael Pinky Toes rolling around, and you don't want to bump into us. But
well, you know, one of the things I want to focus us in on, and why we're here too, is, you know, to differentiate between seraphim and dragons and dragon energies. And I want to share a little story for me that maybe some people can relate to. When dragons first came in, I was working with a group of about 60 or so people to do some work, and I wasn't actually leading the group. I was asked to go in on mission to support the person who was. And she, I'm not going to say she was in over her head, but she was a little rogue. Like, she was a little bit more assertive than I probably would with wanting to go into China. And I was like, whoa, what's up? You know? And so not only that, she also wanted to go to North Korea and like other grid systems. And I'm like, what is she doing? Right. So I called another friend of mine in. She came in. We were both holding space for this. And then suddenly Archangel Michael energy comes in and says, call in the Diamond Dragons. I had never heard of these ever. I think Kaira, I'd heard about the Sophia Dragon Tribe. I knew Kaira before she was Sophia Code, all that, like, you know, interviewed her or whatever. But the point is, that was all I knew about dragons, Sophia Dragon Tribe, right? So I'm like, Diamond Dragons, like what? You know, so next thing I know, Michael again in my head called them in now. Now keep in mind, my angels don't tell me what to do. This isn't how it works with me. It's not normal for this to happen. So this was really unusual, okay? So I was like, all right. So I tell the group, guys, you might want to call them the Diamond Dragons. And I just chatted in, right? And all the millennials in the group were like, oh my God, I see them. They're great, right? Now, I don't work that way. I'm not a clairvoyant, like 3D clairvoyant, where I see things out here as much as I just know direct from source. So it was interesting, right? But then a couple of days go by, and a girlfriend of mine calls me up, a sister. She says, you know, my sister's going through some stuff. She's saying mofo all over the place. Like, I'm not going to use the language right now, but not normal for her. You know, she's a Christian, like she never uses that word. I'm like, And I said, call in the Diamond Dragons. Their number 777777. She's like, what does that mean? I said, it's a harmonic alignment. I don't know. It's a key. So I called a girlfriend who had been in the group, a different girl. And I said, do you remember? And she's in Austria. I said, do you remember the Diamond Dragons? She's like, yeah. I said, yeah, well, they have this number code, 777 twice, you know? And she said, okay. This is weird. And so she says, I'm not in Austria right now. I'm in Slovenia, in the city of dragons, standing on Dragon Bridge, looking at a dragon, looking at the wall underneath the dragon, and on the wall it says 777, the number of the dragon. I said, you've got to be shitting me. And she says, oh, I'm not kidding. And so at that point, they had my attention. Because at this point, up until this point, I was just seraphim and angels and
I remember.
Right?
I remember.
Yeah. And suddenly it was like, what are the dragons, right? So the Diamond Dragons come in. Now, from there, of course, once you acknowledge, you know what happens? It's like boom, boom, boom. You know, suddenly everything's dragon. So it's just been a really interesting ride with them, because to me, everybody knew me as the hug angel and like angel girl. And, you know, but I'm like this fierce faith woman, badassery, whatever you want to call it, seraphim energy too. And it's like, I kind of have to do that on the down low, like, you know, do my planetary guardianship on this side, but then I have the hug angel more front and center, you know, inspiring and doing whatever. So it's almost having these two little versions, right? So part of the reason I wanted to do this show with you is really to show this other side of who I am, so people understand that we are doing massive amounts of work as collectives, right? As you're doing your collective work, I do my collective work. And what's happening, and what I know with the dragon energies is, think of the dragon energies as almost like the networks. Like, think of like the telephone wires, like the networks, you know, throughout the universe. But the seraphim are the governing agent. The seraphim are like the core soul system that governs what is coming into form, and formation is inspired creation. Does that make sense?
And just before I forget, also just to add in, you know, you know how big I am, and everybody from my channels knows how big I am with the etymology, like actually breaking down the spell. Like, we were taught how to spell. Us older generations were taught how to connect the letters of the spell. to create cursive, grammar, grimoire. Like, this is clear as day. Like, this isn't a conspiracy theory thing. Like, this is, I mean, even just yesterday, the word letters came in, and I'm like Spirit saying, let hers. Like, it's like, there's so much BS in the words, where like the words we're saying are actually sometimes disempowering ourselves. And it's why we can't create, because we're, some of us, because we're using certain spells that are not beneficial to the future timeline. So the more etymology work we do, and the more we just say, why doesn't this word feel good? And then we do research on it, we see why it doesn't feel good. One of the major ones for me, and I'll let you get back to your point, of course. I would see like this person kept saying, amazing, amazing. It was one of the first words that came through. And it was like Spirit was talking to me, and I was like, she should stop saying that. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, break down the word.
Yeah. And
then also just visualize and know what's going on in her life. And like, this person was lost. And like, who am I to say who's lost? But if you look at what was going on, this person was struggling. It was like, this is amazing. This is amazing. This bagel with cream cheese is amazing. And this is a word that was created to say, two lovers, and like, oh, your eyes are so beautiful. I'm lost in them. A maze in. I'm in a maze. Your eyes are a maze. I'm lost in these eyes. Like, this was a word that was used for not your bagel and cream cheese. Okay. So the second I stopped using that word, or only using it when I was amazed, I saw this like shift my reality. Every single word I took out or added in, or slightly changed, understand, because I don't stand under anybody on this planet, to inner stand or inner fly or omni stand or whatever it is, or whatever feels good to you. That's all that really matters, as long as people can also still like get what the heck you're telling them also. But the word seraphim, I broke this down because Sera comes from serpent, and phim means fire. So it literally says serpent of fire. And this was like after me and you had been talking for over a year about how like we would see them as dragons sometimes. So it was, it was very evident that like this word and the definition, because what are these words? Some of them are a bunch of words. Some of the words are like a sentence that got mashed together, basically. And you can see this just by looking and just paying attention, like right now or tomorrow, to everybody at home. But yeah, just to get at that, like there's also like, I know like what you were just saying, why this was important for you. And also for myself, like this whole like dragon, and what type of dragon, an elemental dragon, this type of dragon, this type of seraphim, and just knowing, regardless of what it is, there's one thing all the dogmas, all the religions, everybody agrees with: the one is in the all. So it's like, whatever it is, we got to look at it like, and be inquisitive, to a certain degree, because that's what your inner child wants. And then also just like see like, what is there for me to learn here, and what's really taking place with this energy. Because like, it's like earlier we were talking about the whole like, or I was talking about the whole like argument thing, and then like you were talking about that, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but it's like, since Spirit, and this is like more on my angelic team, since they were like, pay attention, the healing that somebody can go through, instead of somebody wanting to win the argument, just to like wrap that up, instead of wanting to win the argument, if you just listen to somebody, like, oh my God, the stuff and the transformations I've seen take place. I've actually seen some people that they're actually like, they have certain vampiric tendencies where they don't want to be listened to. They feed off of you going, trying to get your word in, and they just talk faster, and they go over you. And like, there's some people that's actually a form of vampirism that I've discovered on this journey. And when I just and settled in and looked in their eyes and said, finish, because that was what, like, stuff would make me sad. I have my angel in my ear, and she'll be like, what if no one's ever listened to this person? Because no one ever felt that they had anything of worth to say. And I'm like, ugh. So it's like I would sit there and be like, whew, you're right. Oh my God. Because like the second I'm like, oh my God, would you shut? I don't even get the sentence out of my brain. And she's like, you know how serious they are. Sometimes like I wish the angels could joke a little more. Okay.
Well, it depends on the angel.
No, I know. Michael.
Yeah, Michael's a cheeky monkey, man. He's my cheeky monkey. He does things like
Yeah.
when Angels in the Buff, when I did Angels in the
was
Buff,
like
he showed up
40.
in a
He's
loincloth.
so much. He's like,
oh my God. He
I'll see
showed
him
up
on-
in a loincloth and I heard Angels in the Buff and I see Michael in a loincloth in my mind's eye and I'm going, what is this? And then I hear, you're lucky I wore the loincloth. Like, what are you talking about? And he says, it's a radio show and it's going to be stripping away the wings and the halo and getting the science. I'm like, okay, you know, it was just one morning that it just drops in sometimes like that. So, you know, it's a wild ride being a channel and being what I call an angelic light stream, which is just always, you know, buffering or streaming. But what I want to say is, you know, and I'm seeing some comments that there's, you know, ones that are saying, we love the garden dragons and, you know, all the dragon stuff. So this is the thing. What I know, we have, right, the energies, the piezoelectric that we plug into, and that is really the dragon currents, right, that we hold or we charge or not. And so to me, yes, there's the elemental dragons, there's the water dragon, there's all these elemental elements, right, of the dragons. But what I'm realizing, and this is something goes back to last week when you called me up and you're like, okay, the dragons are moving. I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. But it was something that I knew. What was interesting about it was the Magdalene dragons were coming in. And back in 2020, I was supposed to do a tour in Europe and all over France and England and everywhere and raise the Magdalene dragons out of the grids, like literally go in and raise them up out of the grids. And it was the ones that had been laid in, the magnetic grid fields, okay, the gravities. And so think of it like this for those, some of them out there might know this already, but I will just say, you know, ley lines used to be called dragon lines. And so the whole thing is a network of holographic energy and the gravity that holds it in, right? So those dragons, they're loose. They're coming up. They're getting liberated. And the reason they're getting liberated is because the planet's going into an expansion phase, a new phase, and it's also putting in new structures. Like the diamond dragons are the new structure. They're the new grid keepers, if you will. And they're holographic and they're multidimensional. So we're going into a planetary system then that becomes much more like a virtual reality where Alex and I could literally both be in Sedona having a good time, doing our thing and having completely different experiences and running completely different dimensions of consciousness. And maybe similar, maybe not, but the point is it becomes much more multifaceted in how you are engaged with reality. And so this is why we're seeing so much getting reformatted, like Facebook going into Meta and like all these crazy things happening, right? So I do believe right now what is happening is we are bringing up the Lemurian dragons. I don't think I even told you this, Alex. The Lemurian dragons have been coming in the last 20 hours in my field and talking about re-blueprinting. So we're putting up these blueprints that are basically one is falling away and dissolving and another one's coming in simultaneously, and it's the alpha omega energies, right? So it's been really intense. So for those of you who've been having like blurry vision, super tired, you're like, I don't even want to function right now, I'm just going to stay in bed. That's normal.
I'll have to touch on that.
We've been going through this. So it's because of the fact that we are literally dismantling and unhooking or unlodging, whatever you want to call it, from one system and going into this new one. So do you want to talk about it?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was what the gist was on 211, was basically like this like waffle pattern of these like dragons. Like you don't see the head, you don't see the tail, you just see the bodies. And like this waffle pattern of this veil was unwoven. That was what, like, you know, literally like these dragons, like these devices that we have, you have, my brother Rion has, like certain of us have, they were awoken. And like, because it was like all hands on deck with the elemental dragons. And this whole veil that was created for a certain period of time, for a certain purpose, whether it was good or bad, it doesn't matter. You know, it's like, you can't even say good or bad, because even if you want to say it's bad, you know, what if like you wouldn't even be awake if that didn't exist? Like, what if there needed to be a bad guy for you to get off your butt and realize that you can see with your eyes closed or something? But the general gist of what I'm getting at was, it was just yesterday morning when I was at the gym, and I was just like, you know, I'm a firm believer that when we release enough endorphins, this in turn makes us release dimethyltryptamine, DMT, from our body. When we get into a state of releasing endorphins, because when my third eye first started coming on, because some of you watching this might not know, my third eye works with my eyes open. So I can like actually see stuff in the room with my eyes open. And like certain times I'll close my eyes to tune in, but it's like a half closed. But what I'm getting at is Spirit was saying, you know, because I felt crazy in the morning, yesterday morning. It felt so intense. And then like while I'm working out, it's like all this information, like I have pages of notes on all this stuff. And a lot of it, I'll be talking about it next week in New Orleans. Like, you know, it's just like good content that came in that I wanted to speak about anyways. But what I'm getting at is, once this veil, like, because what you just said, like, we didn't even really have that portion of the conversation together, but what you just said is so on the money. Once that veil, or however you look at it, this blanket was unwoven from the dragon lines to, because it's like, was it in the earth or above the earth? Because I see it like it was like layered of dragons. And once that was unwoven, now the people here that have done the most work, and especially to those of you that have your third eye on, you'll see this, they need to go somewhere. So they're going to go to who can handle all this frequency. And this is what we've been preparing for. And this is what we've been telling everybody to get ready for. Because, you know, it was like the second I saw what the heck was going on, it reminded me of this activation that I did years ago with these like red dragons that I didn't know what to do with them. And that's the thing. I wasn't supposed to do anything. They just wanted acceptance, and they taught me so much about love, because if people were saying, oh, they're so angry, they're so this, like, what do you do? And like, I tried everything and nothing ever worked, except for just being like, they're how they are for a reason. And just when the second I accepted that, they were like, come and check me out. Like I was like a creature in a zoo. They were like, oh, we got a human being in sector 6 that knows what the heck we're doing here. But what I'm getting at is, some of you that can see might see that they're actually weaving themselves around our fields, because that's what I saw was like this. And I wish I could pop up a picture of it. It's like almost like that. There's like a Chinese carved wood thing where like you don't see the head, you don't see the tail, and it just looks like packed like dragon, like the serpent type dragons, though, like the water dragons, however you've seen them, and you just would see the body. And I saw this around my field. And then it was like all this information's coming down the tube, or coming up, coming down, uploads, downloads, however the heck you call them, from what was taking place. And it's like, that's what I was getting at, was like, I even called you. It was the first thing that came out of my mouth yesterday when I called you on the phone. I was just like, I don't know what I'd be doing if I wasn't working out right now. I was like, I don't even know, like how are you doing today? Because like I felt absolutely crazy until I worked out, steamed, sauna, cold shower. Like, you know, like I had to, like, I got a system that works for me. I'll say that. But it's like, I think people need a system, especially if like something's feeling crazy or out there or wild, or you just like, what the heck is going on with me? You know, once again, this is why we're doing this show, to let you know what I'm seeing with my third eye open. I've had enough validations. We don't have to talk about all that and toot horns. It's like, we know, you know, it's like these conspiracy theories. The more time that's gone by, everything that we said and predicted became fact. Okay. So if we're saying something's going on with dragons, I'm not saying you got to live by or whatever, but I'm saying to the people that are feeling anxiety, the people that are feeling crazy, and everything was feeling great, this is the moment you've been training for, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
This is like you were saying, the old grid and this old veil has been released, and now new energies are actually able to come in to the planet, through the planet, on all timelines, throughout all time and space, and on all dimensions.
Yeah. I think, you know, somebody commented that this feels very biblical, you know, even though they're not Christian anymore. And I'm going to say this, you know, there's the true Christianity, if you want to call it that. And then there's the map of consciousness called the Bible that keeps people locked and loaded into an Armageddon playbook, right? And so people wonder, why are we creating this? I mean, like, this is happening just like the Bible. Well, yeah, because you're creating it, because you've been plugged into that through generations. But we are dismantling that because we're breaking out of these maps of consciousness, right? And a lot of the maps of consciousness have collapsed out. Even how attached you are you to your astrology, right? It's like we have to realize we're bigger, right, than the systems that we give all this power away to. We give our authority away to so many things. You can do it for fun. I'm not saying like throw out your astrology. I'm just saying take it carefully, though, just like, you know, Alex is talking about the etymology of things and the words we speak, and all of these things matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Yeshua came in, when he started working with me more directly, you know, and he's part of my soul tribe, so he's really integrated with me. I'll just say that. And this is the thing. His main focus was to say that you are here to liberate people from the old ways. We are not building a new earth with the old. We are building a new earth with the new. We are building it from the leading edge of what we're getting now, not going back all the time and saying, oh, because this is what it says, this is what's gonna happen. No, we have been given a free slate, a new slate, and a new system. We've earned it. We've done the work. We got there.
Yeah.
We made it, guys. Okay. So now we get to say, what seeds do we want to plant for new reality? Or do we want to keep throwing in the astrology and all these other things to keep us bound to the old archetypes and the old systems? However, what I will say is every archetype's a key. To know the archetypes is helpful, and to liberate yourself from them and to see where you're connected and networked with them is really helpful, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, the more I've worked with the archetypes and these, you know, these 12 children and the 6 girls and the 6 boys, and it's like, well, it's like, you know, who was saying they were God? And I'd like to leave off with this because we're already over an hour. We're like, we'll just go live for a half hour. Yeah, good joke. The more I've worked with all of these frequencies and all of these energies, it kept leading back to the old white man with the beard that's been pretending to be God the whole time. And it's like, whether you call him Zeus, Odin, Jupiter, Jove, and that's the one that really grabbed me recently when we were doing certain missions revolving around Jupiter, no pun intended. This whole word of Jove, and this was actually used in the Bible. This was used in olden days, and some of you will remember it even from things like Looney Tunes or whatever it is. The old Looney Tunes were spelled with 2 O's, not Tunes. But for your Mandela effects out there. But this whole by Jove, I think he's got it. Because when I read this word Jove, I was like, I've heard that somewhere before. So this was used the same way we'd say, oh, by God, or oh my God. Like the olden times, it was by Jove, I think he's got it. And it's like to fractal everything down, whether we were fractal down or whether we agreed to be fractal down to these archetypes to come in here, the more work that I've done to be like, I am all these archetypes. So therefore, I must be the father who isn't even the father. This is like the grandson, because when you follow this all the way up, what do we get to? We get to Gaia. And everybody's looking up and outwards and saying, oh, come and get me out of here. And it's just like, the more I look, I'm just seeing that the planet itself, this spaceship that we're already riding that's under our feet, is what's said to be grandma, which is said to be this goddess energy. And I'm not saying to live by the Greek mythology. What I'm getting at is it keeps going up. And whenever there's like, this is where we are, there's so much to learn from the stories, these mythologies or whatever they are about the self, to see like, wow, this is literally talking about my life. So then we can work past it, integrate all of it to actually see like, wait a minute, some of this was keeping me away from these certain skill sets. You know, it's almost like this, Jove or Jupiter or whatever the heck you want to call him, Zeus. It's like they always show this big masculine hand holding the lightning bolt. When like any of us that have done like a lot of work know that we have the ability to harness electricity right here in our body. We have the ability to, I don't want to fry the equipment here, but we have the ability to work with this stuff right here in the physical, whether this is astral, etheric, or however you're looking at it. But this is information that was attempted to be kept away from us. Certain information about, like, even the telcons, the telcanies. That was one of my favorite things that I found, because it was like all like, oh, Zeus was afraid of them, so he destroyed them. And that was like part of my journey. When I find these, whether they're a wolf with a mermaid bottom, or whether they're just, that's how they were perceived to make them sound scarier, like demons, when this word comes from daemon, which just means lesser deity or guiding spirit. Once again, the one is in the all. But the fact there's a frequency that exists that cannot be affected by negative magic. When I read this and learned this and integrated this, which took years, it was like overnight, none of this stuff could affect me anymore. So it's like the archetypal work for me has been just so validating and so empowering. And you know, because it's like it's like little pieces are here in all the religions and in all the places and in all the stories, and it's all us, it's all God essence or original creator, how I like to say, however you want to say it.
It's all under the mantle of all, right? The all mind is having
Yeah.
its way with itself through all the fractals of its consciousness that we are. So, but I think what I want to say to this, because we've done a lot on informational tonight, I want to do an experiential. I promised my team, my guides, my angelhood, as I call it. So I want to do this. You know, we have power as a collective intentionally. And on Saturday, I have something called Halo Inner Circle I do, and we created a peace shield around Ottawa and Canada, and then all of the US. I'd like us to just take a moment to kind of visualize and set intention right now to the Ukraine and the Russia region, because when I look at the grid, I look at like, where's their inflammation, right? When La Palma was erupting, or Tonga, you know, I go to places that there's inflammation. That's obviously bringing a lot of attention right now. And what I will say to you is there's no accident that it's bringing the attention just as we are in the 22222. And we're in the 22222 in Moscow right this moment. They're already in that vibration. So I want to set up a peace like shield, basically a halo, what I call halo, to really just inform that region to hold immaculate, what I call immaculate light. Would you be cool with that, Alex? Can I do that?
Yeah. It just, while we're at it, we can also just dissolve the false narratives too. Just yeah.
Do you want to start us off and then I'll wrap us up, or do you want me to start, or do you want to just sit back and hold space? How do you want to do it?
I can do a little omen.
A little what?
Omen.
Omen?
Mazzone.
Mazzone omen. All right. So I just want to let everybody know, this is the thing. What I did on Saturday was...
No. I'll help. I'll help out. Of course. Okay. I'm sure my team and everybody out there is going to help out. Yeah. No, it's just to, I mean, there's been all these results and studies of when people do peaceful meditations, and that's, you know, biggest, hugest shout out to Canada and what's taking place there right now. And just, you know, this, for me, this is like showing us what's taking place there, that, you know, like where there's power and peace, and like we've been re-empowered, and this is hands down, it's done. Like we're here, you know. That's what we're going to be celebrating tomorrow. That's what 2222 is for me, at least, is you know, how empowered we are. And this for me was proof. So you know, the biggest shout out, and you know, any residual leftover energies that aren't needed by the suit, I send to support these people. But just like, you know, these peaceful meditations that have been done all over the world, they have lasting effects, and they have instant manifestational effects. You know, it's co-creation. It's like whatever we're like, you know, anchoring into this reality is what will take place. Because regardless, it's like we create our own timeline. We created the timeline that we're on right now, and we create the next timeline. So regardless of what the narrative is saying, regardless of what the media is saying, regardless of what anything is telling you, it's really what you're paying attention to, because the energy is going to go where the attention is. So to make sure that what you're paying attention to, it's like, yeah, let's do this peaceful meditation. But then I'd like to like also like not pay attention to this anymore, because it's not real, and it's not happening where I go. This is just a distraction from the last thing, from the last thing, from the last thing. And it's just like, oh God, those powers that were in the underground bunker are running out of oxygen. I'll just tell you that much.
Yeah, you know, and this is what's funny. I'm not doing a peaceful meditation. What I'm going to do is put up a halo.
Oh, good.
And I'm asking everyone to visualize it with me, just to be clear.
All right.
And I'm not saying I don't believe in holding peace. We're going to be holding peace, but we're kind of installing. I want to explain everything what this is, what a halo is. It's a holographic assembly light organism, like I said. And what it's going to do, you're going to kind of see it like as a dome over that region, but understanding that there's an entire sphere there. Okay. It's very feminine in its frequency. So there's an like mirrored effect underneath the ground as well. So it goes through the whole system as a circle, right? When we place up this halo, I'm going to go into stream and I'm going to see what wants to come through to, as far as word is law. I am the word is law, and the law is one is kind of just something to keep in mind. So when I'm stating the words into this region, whatever wants to come through, what I'm asking everyone to consider is that you are lending your consciousness as intention and light to that space to clear, cleanse, neutralize, and resolve whatever the mental amazement, the maze of mental miasma, labyrinth of mind wants to kind of create from the ego, because that's usually what's going on when we have war on the brain, let's just call it that. So I want to really understand that it's already done. We are putting it in a past tense as complete, done, and complete, like not an issue. But in this moment of now, because you're going to have people come to you potentially, if you're light leaders or what have you, you're going to have people, do you know what's going on in the Ukraine and all this stuff, right? Did you know they sent in this? This is the thing. We can't stop the conversations that people are having either to us or around us, or even not even aware in our awareness, but they're feeding into this energy, right? We can't control the whole planet, but what we can do is we can put up a field shield. We can put up something that essentially transmutes that energy so it doesn't continue to feed into that narrative, that story, and build it out. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. You guys can throw up a 22 if you want, if that makes sense and you're in. So I'd love to do that. So let's just do that quick because I know you got to go, as do I.
Yeah.
And then we'll be complete for today's first Seraphim Source. And then I'm going to just give you guys some options of how to stay in touch with everybody and do what you got to do to connect better, okay? But we'll do this first. So let me just do this real quick. We're just clearing space. That's all we're doing. Opening up the heart field. And I'm just essentially going to go into what I would call a stream or a prayer of light. I call forth the angelic light streams of all creation, including the sovereign light councils of the Seraphim, the Ophanim, the Elohim, and the Cherubim. I call in the sovereign light nations and celestial councils of your own network. That means all that are governing you. To be with you now, to create a halo around you personally and us as a collective, as a force of light. I call in the diamond light nations of ascension, the diamond dragons, the diamond angels, diamond lions, the diamond Pegasus and unicorn coming in as well. Thank you. Calling in the diamond dolphins to bring in some joy here, because it's always about that. And the diamond wolves, the white wolves coming in to just remind us that we are always here in sacred community, connected via the heart. I call in the Magdalene order, recognizing Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Grandmother Hannah, Brother Yeshua, and Father Joseph as emissaries of the 144,000 or million, how you want to see that. And as they are stepping in, they are guiding us and assisting us in holding the highest frequencies of living light, ultimate love, and immaculate grace, which is all that we allow for. So in this moment of now, what I am seeing and inviting you to consider is that there is a beautiful holographic assembly over Moscow and expanding out through all of Russia and covering all of the former Soviet Union, including Ukraine. And what we are doing and what we are asking for is the assistance of the diamond dragons and all that govern the diamond DNA of this planet to bring forward the frequencies of living light to reassess, resurface, and recalibrate this space, to fully neutralize anything that is the opposite of peace. That anything coming in as worry, fear, judgment, ego-driven consciousness, anything that is coming out of the leaders of those countries or leaders outside of those countries that are creating a false narrative or any other kind of narrative that is not of service of the highest good of this planet, that it be fully neutralized and made impotent immediately. I ask Archangel Michael, Archangel Metatron, Archangel Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel to create an archangelic chamber of light around this space now. Calling in Archangel Zachiel and Lady Amethyst to run the Amethyst light stream of neutralization and transformation through this region as well. And run this for 365, 24/7 until this is fully resolved. We know that it is done already. It is already complete. And we hold the reality that when we are here as a collective and we are standing as a collective and we are stating as a collective that we only allow for peace to reign on this planet, and this planet is fully liberated, it is done, and so it is. And in my heart, I am welcoming Alex to say anything he'd like to add or anything he'd like to offer in addition.
Yeah. Sieltä du kumpotation träffan popaisetteisen pukumtiästä tappum patsiisita on kumpaisiti. Kumpaisetteisen pyöffateissu kuntuusieteisen poffonteistu pumpa. Look at that, the incense fell when I clapped. Oh, you wanted something in English?
No.
Okay.
Perfect.
Woo! How do you know it's real? He's sweating instantly.
Get some Seraphim fire in there, yeah. So everyone who's new to light language of any kind or dragon language or Seraphim language, welcome to the club. I just want to say, Alex, this has been a pleasure. I'm so glad we got to do this, and I'm so excited for everyone.
So much more to come.
I know, so much more to come. It's just the beginning. I want to say this, that you are, if you're new to Alex, I want you to know that you can find him at crystalcurrent.com. He creates these amazing, this is one of mine, but these little guys, right? These beautiful energy tools. This is the Magdalene. And so crystalcurrent.com, you can find him there. Of course, I know a lot of you already follow him on Galactic Tarot, so you can find him also on his YouTube channel, Galactic Tarot. He's going to be going live tomorrow, the 2/22/22 our time, right? It's already there in Oz. I saw you Aussies out there. Thank you for anchoring it down.
Yes, love you guys so much.
But he will be going live tomorrow at 2:22 p.m. Mountain on YouTube at Galactic Tarot. So definitely find his channel there if you'd like to connect more with him. I would also love to ask you guys to join my sanctuary. It's called theangelhood.com. Alex is a member. It's like Facebook without the drama and the trolls, basically. And we leave just all the garbage outside and we just serve from light. We come in there and share experiences. If you have people you want me to hold halo for, meaning harmonic alignment for, if they're going through anything, you can share that. Theangelhood.com is my invitation for you. And then you can also find me at angelicacademy.com and the Hug Angel on all social media. Alex, where would you like them to find you on social media? Is it, I know, because you have a couple, right?
Galactic Tarot everywhere. It's Galactic Tarot on Patreon, on Instagram, on YouTube. That's the easy go-to, and then Crystal Current for those energy tools, of course. Thank you. And yeah, the work she does and the halo work, guys. I've been working with Stephanie for years. It's as she was saying, we've done missions like that. Like, we don't really speak about too much. Like some know of some of the missions. But the work with the keys and the angelic work she does is life altering. I will say that.
Yeah, I'm teaching a Magdalene masterclass right now called Angelic Light Streaming, and it's the 9 core keys how to plug into source, like how to really be a channel of light. So you guys are always welcome to go to angelicacademy.com and ask me any questions. Reach out to me at the Hug Angel on Instagram or in the Angelhood, and I'm happy to answer any questions about the work I do. So thank you, Alex, for that. And everybody, if you need energy tools, definitely get your crystal currents. They help. I actually have my anklets on, Alex, so you know I'm all gridded out.
Good. I was going to
going
ask. You would have been in trouble. No, I'm just kidding.
So everybody, much love, and there'll be more to come. You know, there's so many different things.
Yeah, we'll get into questions. And I was just thinking I could always, I mean, it might pull a little bit more of my bandwidth. I don't know if it'll mess with the feed, but I can always pull up the YouTube so I can actually see the questions. I was thinking.
Yeah,
next time.
try that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
Because then I'll be able to see the list populating.
Yeah, I'll go through.
I won't get distracted. I never get distracted.
Well, I'm hoping that I'll be able to see this chat and be able to go back and look at all your questions. But
I'll be in there too. Everybody, thanks for the love, the subscriptions. Hit the subscribe button, the bell notification. We'll be back. I'll see you tomorrow on Galactic Tarot. Thank you all.
All right, everybody, and I'm going to give you the link really quick. Go to Seraphim Source, and you can find all sorts of links if you need them, just so you know, and get on our newsletter so that you can get the next broadcast information. All right?
Yeah.
We love you. Thank you, Alex.
Love you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Hugging you soon. Bye.
See you soon.